Hi, everybody. Nice to see you here today. I am having a discussion here with Miss Ashley Lee of Center for Conscious Kids. And I did a webinar yesterday, and she and I did a Facebook Live earlier this week. And there were reasons for both that the recordings aren't going out. So we just decided to do a kind of not a redo, but an expansion upon the things that we've talked about already this week. And if you're not in my audience this week, I channeled, or even in channeling, I came in with my team and I allowed my team to speak through me in a way that I haven't done before. I do light language, and we're going to talk about this, but Ashley and I were just talking about, this collaborative effort that I have with my non-physical support team. And so in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about how that came to be. We're going to invite them into the space in order to collaborate with me and with you who are watching. And she's helping me before we hit record, we sat down and said, okay, how do I da-da-da-da-da-da? And she's like, oh, well, this is this and this is this. So it's just been this great conversation we've had this morning. So we decided to hit record and send this off to my people who missed the webinar yesterday, and to Ashley's people with Center for Conscious Kids who weren't able to see us on Facebook Live this week. Does that kind of summarize everything?
Absolutely, so much so. And welcome, everyone. We're so glad you're here to share about Tanya and what she does with and to the world. And really in specific towards helping children and families and parents and adults really experience their awareness in such a way that is so expanded that their possibilities are limitless in their world that they'd like to create. And so as you describe yourself as an intuitive connection coach. What would you say that is? What does that mean?
Well, do you mind if I invite the team in? And
please, that would be fantastic.
And it was funny because when one of the ways I ground into the space, or anchor really into the space, is by allowing some light language to come through me. And as I was doing some this morning, Ashley looked at me and says, well, what's happening when you're doing that? Your pineal's clearing out, and your brain centers are just kind of coming to neutral as you do that, so you can collaborate with them with more ease and grace. And it's not about stepping out of the way to let them speak, but it's about us coming together to speak together. And I just loved that clarification. And as these new gifts are coming through to me, to have support, to not in figuring all this out, but to give my mental piece a little bit to hang on to, because it's sometimes feel like it's a little bit of a wild ride.
It is. Please share.
Okay.
Please share with us how you begin.
Great.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, we're so excited to explore the realms of being an intuitive connection coach. What does that feel like to you?
So really what it's about is connecting our inner to all of the places where we've disconnected. So from the moment that we start getting initial programming, spots start getting disconnected. And one of the beautiful pieces about conscious parenting is creating less and less disconnects from as young as possible going forward. I love the quote, I want to raise children who don't need to recover from their childhoods, comes to mind. So it's really connecting to all the places that have been disconnected, to allow that inner to really come home and to really come at peace with everything that you've experienced, with everything that you've gone through in life, and to really be able to just celebrate who you are and let that celebration of who you are shine out into the world without the constructs that have kept you from trusting your inner self and being truly connected to all that you came here to be, do, and have.
Absolutely. That was really well said. Thank you for sharing that. And so when you're working with someone and you intuitively help them connect, you're connecting those connections points that came apart.
Yeah, we look at the areas where disconnection happened. So let's say that there's a recurring theme. Let's just use an example of a job and not being happy with the way that you've had career so far in life, or that it's just not very satisfying, but there's some stuck energy. So we actually go in and figure out where that disconnect happened. So, and it varies depending on who I'm talking to, what the first question is to get to find those points. I like to call it the alchemy of asking, because in the moment you intuit the exact question that that person but can connect with to figure out where that disconnect happens. So we look at that recurring theme, we look at that recurring pattern, and then we say, and then that natural question comes to the forefront to then ask. And then as soon as that question is asked, they go straight to, some crazy memory that they've never told anybody, or something they haven't thought of in eons. Or sometimes if it's really sticky and they don't have an answer to it, then I'll kind of intuit and say, okay, is this an ancestral thing? Is this in the DNA? Is this in the past life? Is this somewhere else other than in this experience that we bookend in this personality? So there's various ways that happens.
Absolutely. Wow, that's fantastic. So it really does, if you could say, like in our life, we're a big puzzle, and we were missing some of those puzzle pieces because they got disconnected and maybe thrown over here or thrown over there. So
exactly
that like, all coming together.
Exactly. That's a great analogy. We're basically all born with all the puzzle pieces connected. And then as life happens, we have I have a toddler at home, for instance, and her favorite word is mine and no, and not in that order. Right. And we are so programmed at such just even at this age where we don't have a crazy no household. It's not like she's told no a million times a day, other than if something's dangerous or there's a good reason for it. And yet that programming is coming through right away. No, 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 no. And right. It's so fascinating that it's just part of that construct. So we could look at this as an example of, here's this puzzle, her, wanting to demand, or things not being right. Okay, this puzzle piece took away because she doesn't have what she wants. Right. And then what happens is we don't have, most of us, I know I didn't have a childhood where my parents were like, oh, let's put that puzzle piece back. Right. Like, so from that point forward, it was just losing more pieces, because you don't feel supported in what it is that you're doing. And that really is what the bottom line, I think, to a lot of this is feeling supported to be who we are with this puzzle completely put together, and that we don't have to take pieces out in order to match somebody else's puzzle.
Correct. Very well said. Amazing. Absolutely. So we can determine who we are individually and then collectively as we feel unified.
Absolutely.
Yes. So share with me a little bit about energy healer. What does an energy healer mean to you, and how do you support people through energy healing? What does that mean?
So everything's vibration. We know we are living in a world that's information and vibration. And just like our cell phones work, just like our microwaves and Wi-Fi and all of these things that we rely on every day, and we don't know how this video call, we can't see how this video call is working on the back end. We can see the outcome of it because we're both sitting here on the screen in different cities talking at the same time. So we just, as a culture, weren't taught that we are also the receivers and the antennas simultaneously, and that we are electrical, we are magnetic, we have all of the same capabilities. I mean, even though like a dolphin's limbic system is bigger than ours, we have that same capability to be able to communicate with one another in sound as they do. And they're, trying to teach us this in their own way. But human beings, we have our thinking brain and our ego brain that's continually telling us that we should be something else other than we are. So you don't see a dolphin trying to be a bear. You don't see a tree trying to be a cat. But humans will be like, oh no, this isn't me. This is me over there. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's about using energy to not necessarily send to or do something to, right? And that's a lot of times how it's received. Like somebody sending me love, and yes, you can send prayers. Yes, you can send positivity. Yes, the person on the other end can receive that. But the energy medicine is really about bringing in that vibration back into that person so they know that it's theirs to, it's theirs already. It's already theirs. It's us sending the vibration to wake up that this is there already.
Correct.
It's not that I have something that you don't have. It's that you have something that you forgot you had.
Exactly. So an energy healer also is a person who supports reminding us all of what we already have inside of us to create the healing we'd like to create and see.
Yes. And sometimes it's very practical and tangible. And it's kind of crazy. Like my husband had a really bad gash on his eye shortly after we met, right around the light language came through, and he went to work without going and getting stitches like I had asked him to do. And he was sitting at work, and I went into a meditative healing state and put him in a sacred container and pretended that he was on my table in front of me. And I proceeded to let my hands, my mental brain check completely out, and let me and my team go in and energetically work on him. And we stitched his eye while he was sitting at work, and he could feel it. He could hear me talking him through it. He completely experienced everything around that healing. And even his boss saw him maybe 20 minutes, 15 minutes after I had finished. And he goes, why does it look like you went to the doctor's office and got stitches? It's bleeding, and it's stopped bleeding, and it's completely sealed up. So that's not to say that experience to me shows that there is more to what we are capable of supporting each other with.
Absolutely.
It's not about, hey, I can do this and this person can receive that. It's I'm supporting them. He wanted his eye healed, and I gave the support for him to go in with me and heal it together.
That's correct. And remotely.
And remotely, yes.
Yes.
Yes. So I think that's a great example of something very tangible, yet very
very real, very healing.
Very real, very healing, but also like it makes you think, like, okay, there's more to all this than meets the eye. And, and I'm always amazed when I see a miracle happen. Have that, have those experiences that really show the magic that's available. That, again, the puzzle piece that we're disconnected. When that came out, it's like when the interconnection coach, it's connecting, it's reconnecting.
That's totally true. Absolutely. We're reconnecting to what we know is inside of us, that we can heal inside of us. And many of us, though, like you explained with your husband, which is so beautiful, is that we're here collectively to support one another. And so we may have different skill sets that allow that healing to even be more specific. And in your case, more surgical, right?
That was crazy. Well, and I can't say that was just one of those things. And I can't say that people are calling me, hey, can you stitch my, and obviously I'm not a medical doctor. I would never say, oh yeah, I can, no, it was just one of those spontaneous things. The other day I channeled, again, that I'm trying to use a different word for channeling. I collaborated with the team, and my voice changed. I didn't feel like I was the one speaking. I did feel separate from them. And it was so powerful because I knew I wasn't the only one talking, and I did feel like I stepped away. And their message was just absolutely beautiful, but it really was my message. We really were talking together, but for my own conscious brain, I had to change my voice and I had to do certain things so I could make sense of it logically and linearly. And then, you know, in just at the beginning of our talk before we hopped on here, you're like, hold on, look at it this way. And that's you needing that belief structure. So it makes sense to you. You don't need that. And thank you so much for your support this morning of saying, guess what? We're working together. It's not a either or.
It's not an either or. It's a both and.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
And speaking on this third part about conscious parenting guide, what does that mean to guide parents in a conscious way? How do you support parents in this way?
Yes, well, it goes back to that, and that helping kids not lose puzzle pieces. You know, it really comes back to when you see a puzzle piece fall off, okay, let's look at this. Let's look at why you took this puzzle piece out. Let's look at how we can put this puzzle piece back, but you're going to put it back. It's teaching.
I agree. I have a great story. I find that when many people are experiencing a sense of abandonment, it goes back to that puzzle piece story of at the grocery store. And the little person, 3 or 4 years old, he wants the candy bar. And mom has baby in the grocery carts and is checking out, and he's going, but I have to have this candy bar. And mom's like, oh no, I'm not doing that. No candy bar. We're not dealing with that. Not today. And so he's still holding the candy bar, and they're checked out and they're leaving, and mom has to go, bye, I'll see you later. You have to put the candy bar down and come with me. So the little child inside their brain is saying, I want the candy bar. I need the candy bar. That's my need. That's my demand. And if I don't get what I want and need, and I put the candy bar down, then I get to go with mom, but I don't get to have what I need. So if I choose to be part of my family in the group, then I don't get what I need. Or if I choose to stay and I get what I need, I get abandoned. And you see how those are puzzle pieces that many children experience just at the grocery store. That's why I'm glad they're getting rid of candies, right? The candy.
Well, and obviously they don't know that the candy isn't good for them. They don't know
that, right.
You know, mom and dad have their best interests at heart. So in that analogy, how would you support that child to not feel like their needs weren't met and realize that mom's making the right decision here?
So a really great thing is to say similar to like, I have some strawberries. We're going to eat them in the car. I know you're hungry. So we're going to eat something very healthy. You belong and your needs get met.
Perfect. Yes.
And right. So we address what's really happening versus just going off of what's happening on the surface.
Yes.
Right. So as a conscious parenting coach and guide, what you're doing is going deeper, right, into those realms of what is really happening here and how can I best guide parents through these moments so that all their puzzle pieces really are put back together.
Well, and a lot of times it's their story of the candy bar.
Right.
So a lot of times it's their mirror. Our children are always mirroring to us. And yes, they also have their own lessons and their own divine path that may not have anything to do with mom or dad. But right. in a lot of cases, they do mirror some puzzle piece that's missing in mom or dad. So that's actually where we start. So we start at looking at strengths. So, and by looking at strengths, and it's so funny, like you'll ask a mom or dad with a teenager, write down, 20 positive qualities about their kid. And if they're in that space of just like, I am just wanting to kill this teenager who's not listening to me, who doesn't care what I said, writing that list of 20 things is really challenging.
Right.
So
Exactly.
it can be, they'll write like, okay, well, they're so caring with little ones, or they're so creative with this, or they're so excited about sports. They're good athlete. They'll write a few, 5 or 6 things down, and then they're like, oh boy, and just by having that discussion with themselves, then the list starts to build, because they have to think about it. And so then when we're working together, it's pulling back on those strengths. So can you see in this area where you're frustrated, how this strength is being utilized, how this strength is being utilized, how that strength is being utilized? It's just annoying the shit out of you.
Right, exactly.
Right? So why is that annoying you? Why is that triggering to you? Then we go and look at where their trigger is coming from, which is usually a missing puzzle piece. And then we bring it full circle.
Absolutely. And then in the end of that, then everyone feels whole, healthy, complete, collaborative, and knows that they can have their needs met, create everything that they want to create in their lives.
Yeah.
On a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. And people who are interested in talking about conscious parenting are doing amazing work in their homes every minute of every day. They're eating organic. They're limiting screen time. They are doing creative crafting and reading and writing and language, and music. And they're doing all of these amazing things to vibrationally support their children. If they're interested in conscious parenting, if you're watching this and you're interested in conscious parenting, you're doing it already.
Right.
You're already doing it. You wouldn't be listening to us talking right now if you weren't already saying, hey, this is really important. I want my kids to have as many puzzle pieces together in place on their puzzle when they walk out that door and go to college or go travel or do whatever they're going to go do as they grow up and go into their own experience with being an adult in this world.
Absolutely. And providing that to support parents and bringing those puzzle pieces back every single time they may get flicked out. And for the trauma or that trauma or problem.
And for those in my audience who may not have children, who may not, we all have inner children.
We sure do.
Anything that applies to our kids, if we don't have kids, it'll show up in other areas. It'll show up in family. It'll show up in coworkers. It'll show up in the areas in life that are teaching us where these puzzle pieces left us and inviting us to bring them home. And it really is just about bringing the energy home. And when we're all of us, like when I go into session work with people, and one of the anchoring exercises I do is I have them call in all of their parts, past, present, future, other dimensions, planes, known, unknown. Like literally we call in all of their energy into the right here, right now. And even just doing that, they feel a shift. Hey, wait. And then we remove everything that's not in theirs out of their energy field, including their husbands or wives, including their kids, including their coworkers. We remove everyone else. And now all of a sudden you have this neutral energy field to work with in this sacred container of conversation. And when you hear that ego come in, when you hear that thinking mind come in, you're able to see it immediately. You can see the story basically just coming out because it's so conditioned to come out. And in that sacred container, hey, we're going to look at this story, but we're going to look at it from this vibrational perspective and not this one. And there's no judgment. There's no, this is right or wrong or good or bad. This is nothing to do with blame or criticism. Self-responsibility and self-accountability sometimes are avoided because they are so meshed together with guilt, blame, and shame. And you can do one without having to absorb the other.
Exactly. Well said. Beautiful, amazing. Thank you so much today, Tanya, for sharing with everyone about how you're an intuitive connection coach, an energy healer, and a conscious parenting guide, right? Oh, wow. Amazing, amazing qualities, amazing attributes that are helping lives transform every day.
Oh. Well, and you too.
Yes,
I mean, you
all of
too.
us.
You
It
know,
takes a village.
yeah, I mean, Ashley here, for anybody who doesn't know Ashley, she is a pediatric nurse, RN. She has worked with the most critical situations in NICUs throughout Southern California, and she is a medical intuitive. So here she goes to work in very 3D circumstances and can telepathically communicate with these children that she's working with and support them even when she can't speak to the parents about how she is energetically supporting these children in her care. I mean, that is an amazing example to me of somebody who's using the new earth tools with the old school programming so beautifully, and it is really an amazing, it's an amazing, you have an amazing story.
Well, thank you. And there's thousands of us all over that do this work, and we don't know that we're doing it. We really just, all of us really call it the same thing, right? It's heart-centered care.
Mm.
And that's really what we're providing here. And many times the information that we may get from our multisensory awareness, sometimes we can explain to everyone around us, or parents, or even the children themselves. And sometimes we don't have to. What if we explain? We don't have to explain always through words. We can explain through our heart. We can explain through our emotions. We can explain through just being present,
Yeah.
right? For the environment and being supportive in that environment. And that gets the meaning across. And it's really, really powerful.
Yes. Yes. And do you mind if I mention a class I have coming up?
Please share with everyone. That would be great.
So I'm going to be doing a 8-week course. It'll be every 2 weeks. So we'll be meeting 4 times over the course of 2 months. And the first 3 classes will be going into the content. And then the last class is going to be a Q&A. And the class I'm calling Celebration is Spirit in Action. With the holidays coming up, it gets a little crazy and it gets a little hectic. And really the whole essence of the winter solstice, of the holiday time, whatever way that we celebrate it, is about celebration. And looking at how we can, every time that we embody excitement, every time we embody joy, we are spirit in action. We are celebrating who we are, and we are inviting the spirit of all we are to come through us. So the first week, we're going to be looking at all the ways that fuel you, everything that gets you in that celebration state. We're going to be really saying, okay, these are the ways to up my joy factor. These are the ways that are going to up my ability to celebrate. Week 2, we're going to be looking at all the ways that we fall out and how to get back in. So, where that little nudge comes in, and then how to get back in. And then week 3 is going to be integrating the 2. So looking at both what we are building and what we're releasing, and then take off, really combine the 2 together and look at them as that yin and yang, and how that yin and yang process is supporting us. And then it'll be the Q&A. So I'm announcing it publicly on Thanksgiving with an early bird for, I think it's like $47. And anybody who emails me before then gets this early bird at $33. And this is a $600 class. So today it's 33, on Thursday on it's 44, and then starting Friday to be 97.
Okay, perfect. Wow, what an exciting opportunity for people.
Yes. Yes.
It really, really is.
Yes.
And thank you so much. And thank everyone for joining us today. We had such a wonderful time explaining our puzzle pieces and bringing them back together as a whole beautiful being of love and sharing. Thank you all.
Thank you. With great love for everyone.